Good morning, YouTube family and friends. Rev it up, Mustang fanatic. This morning I got my neighbor's 2008 Honda CR-V once again. It was on the channel before. He had low brake pressure, so I had asked him if he ever had a brake fluid flush, and he said no, the brake fluid was dirty. So I gave him 2 for 1, where I sucked out the old brake fluid, put in new DOT brake fluid, and then I bled all 4 brakes. It lasted about 2 weeks, and the pedal went back to the floor. So it came back, and so I thought maybe I didn't get all the air out of the line, so I re-bled it again, and I found the little banjo bolt on the rear brake loose. I tightened that. Again, it lasted only 2 weeks, and the brake pedal continues to feel spongy and goes to the floor. So today we're going to go ahead and change the master cylinder on it, because it's got a leak in the master cylinder. The internal bushings, or O-rings you want to call it, and it's either in the rear or the front. It's leaking. It's dual stage. That's why you have a rear brakes and front brakes. So you got a line that goes to the rear, a line goes to the front. It's a safety precaution in case one of those bushings do decide to leak. You'll still have brake and brake fluid be in there. So we're not losing any brake fluid. So there's no leaking around the fittings where you do the bleeding valves. There's no leaking around the wheels or anywhere, or any lines in the brake reservoir is full. So it is an internal leak in the master cylinder. So we're going to be taking the master cylinder out. So we'll go through those in a few moments. So here we are, and you can see the brake reservoir is full. It's right up to there. I can see it from inside here. So we got this bolt loose to take off that bracket, and then you got a bolt right back there. Yeah, that bolt right there. Focus. Well, it doesn't want to focus, but that bolt right there. And then there's another bolt on the back side, which you can't see. See if I can feel it. Yeah, I can feel it with my hand. It looks like those are going to be either 13mm bolts, and then this right here is a 12mm. Take these 2 off. This is going to be probably a 10mm, and then we can slide that right on out of there. So I'm going to use line wrenches on the brake lines going into the master cylinder, because I don't want to strip them or anything. So I'm going to spray a little bit of PB Blaster on there, make sure they're lubricated, and I'm gonna take this bracket off, and I'm gonna loosen these lines. I'm gonna crack those lines first before I take those out, so I have leverage on that. And I'm gonna go ahead and just suck the fluid out of there. So I know these got check valves in it, but I'm gonna just suck the fluid out of it anyway, because I'm gonna use some new fluid. So here's my line wrench, or your flared wrench, whatever you want to call them, but these are line wrenches, and it's a 12-inch on 12mm on this side, 10mm on this side, but it was a 12 that I used to crack them loose. So they're loose. So now I'm gonna get those bolts in the back there. They should be a 13mm. Okay, on that back one, I had to switch up to a 3/8 drive with a 13mm, and go in through this way to get to that bolt back there. So we got that bolt loose. So now we can go ahead and loose these lines right here. I already got them loose, so I can take them off, spin them all the way back. That's all the way back. Now we're getting the one in the back here, and we got that all the way back. So there should be a switch on here for the master cylinder level. I don't see it, but as I pull it out, maybe I'll see it. But I got a rag here because there's a little bit of fluid that's dripping out when we pull the line out. There's one line. I can't do it with one hand, so I got to use two hands. So here are the two master cylinders at glance. This is the new one, okay, and there's a new seal right there. That's the old seal from the other one, and there's a secondary reservoir which goes to the rear and to the front. So like I said, I got to take this clamp off and put this over here. Then we're going to fill this up with brake fluid, and we're going to bench bleed it right here with this on this vice grips, and we'll show you how we're going to do that. So here's the old seal, and the old seal looks good. There's no oil around it, and if you look on the back side, that looks pretty clean. There's no oil on it like that. So this installed like this here. It didn't come out with the master cylinder. So we got the new seal there. That so I'm very happy that there's nothing leaking, no leaks up underneath here. So that's telling me that this master cylinder right here is defective. So now, like I said, I'm going to take vice clamps and I'm going to twist this off, and I'm going to put this on that side, and then we get ready to bench bleed it. Okay folks, so what I got here, I had to set up this box and put a piece of wood on it because this is flimsy, nothing to hold this up straight while I bench bleed. So what I did, I got some lines from a junkyard, and so I got to cut these lines because they're going to fit into the master cylinder, and then I'm going to make some hoses to go to it. So I want to cut it where the bend is. So I might need my vise again. I'll be back. So I'm going to use a hacksaw and cut through this. This is how you make a bench bleeding kit. Okay, nice round cut. Now we're going to do the same for the rear. We want to make sure we cut off enough where it's bending at. All right, so we got them cut. Get a little sandpaper and smooth it out a little bit. Got a little tiny burr that I don't like. Okay, burr's gone. So now I can set back my master cylinder in the vise, and I like to protect it, and I want to make sure it's in the upright position. And get a good clamp on it. Not that hard, this is aluminum. And we want to set our box back up here. I may need to turn my vise in some more. To get that nice and straight. Okay, we're good. So now I'm going to take the cap off, and I'm going to twist my lines in. And you can't go wrong when you get it off of the same vehicle in the salvage yard. So instead of going out and buying $14 or $16 brake kit, you simply just go and crack the lines off of them, and you can make your own brake line kit, bench bleeding kit yourself. So let me get something to tighten this up with, and I'll be back. I may have to run to the store to get some more .3 brake fluid, which this is specifically uses. So I'll just take and pour what I have in there. Which I knew it wasn't going to be enough, so I'm going to have to cut this, and we'll be right back. I'm going to go get some .3 fluid. Okay, we're back. So we got some good old .3. And we're going to fill this baby all the way up. We're going to let it drain to the rear. While that's drying, I'm going to get my hoses. My wife is asthmatic, and she has a lot of these hoses for her asthma machine. So I use these to put on. So let me get me a good pair of scissors and see what length my line has to be. I don't know if this is going to fit. Yeah, it's not fitting over. I thought these would fit. Nope, I was wrong. And now I got leaking brake fluid. It worked on the previous job I did. I used those lines. And there it is. It's on another job. These won't fit, but I got that over the hole. These lines, yeah, they're definitely thicker, so it's not going to work. I have to find some other method. I have to get some lines that fit that. Okay, in my radiator pressure kit, this white hose, that clear hose, that fits on those lines, but I don't have enough to cut to make 2 lines, so I'm gonna see if I can find some of this hose at AutoZone. So here I go running back. So let me measure the the diameter of this. So I know what size to get. Looks like it is about a 1/2 inch. I would say either a 1/2 inch or 3/13/16, one of them. So we got to run back up to AutoZone. We'll be okay. I got these hoses going into the pump, the reservoir, which is full, and I got these little what you call those things?
Reggie, you want?
I lose my mind on track. I have these things here on the side, and I got that clamp to these clamps so it doesn't pinch this line. So that's how I got that done. So now what I'm going to do is use a brake fluid top, and we're going to pump this in. See how we get the air out of here. Oh, that's not very hard at all. And we want to keep pumping until we get all the air out. And this is how you bench bleed. You can see there's little bubbles in there now. So you may have to do this about 40 or 50 times. Sometimes you have to do it fast, sometimes slow. But make sure those lines stay in there and it doesn't get no air in it. Now I'll hold it and let the bubbles do what they want to do. And you just continue to do this until you don't see any more bubbles. I'm just going to pour just a little bit more fluid in there. Now you can do this on the car as well. You can put the master cylinder bolted in place and put the bracket on, leave the electronic sensor off, and you would then go inside the car and you would push the brake, and as you're pushing the brake, the board would push this in and get the air out. And I think we're just about there. See, very little bubbles, very tiny little bubbles. Yeah, I barely see any bubbles now. So I'm gonna just do this for a few more minutes here. Nope, no more bubbles. So that's how you bench bleed. Yep, clear. So that's how you bench bleed a master cylinder. So all the air is out of the cylinder. So you could do one or two things. You can loosen these lines up because it's got a check valve inside here. They should be, so not much fluid should come out. And the screws that they give you in the package, you can put inside there, and that will stop the fluid from coming out. So that's what I'll do. I'll take this loose here. And please, somebody tell me Allen wrenches. That's what these are. I use Allen wrenches so it doesn't come back out. So I'll close the reservoir up. Okay. Crack loose these lines. See, nothing's coming out hardly. And we'll keep these in until we get over to the vehicle. Okay, let's let it rest back on the box. And we'll just empty this fluid out into my pan down here. And I'll tell you where I got these hoses from after I get this master cylinder on, because a 2% chance of rain looking like it might actually rain. So I want to get this back in the vehicle. Okay, so I'm headed back to the vehicle now. Okay, so we got to go in the hole. It's lined up with the threads back there. I put the sensor in, and I put that piece of the screw in because it's going to go like this on that bracket, and then there's holes that on top of that sinks down into that. So we're going to get this bracket put in place, and then we're going to get this tightened down. Okay, we got her bolted up, and we got the brackets back on. We topped off the master cylinder line, so now we're going to do these one at a time. We're going to crack the back one and then put the line in, and then crack the front one and put that line in to tighten them up. Let me get my line wrench. Okay, our lines are on. They're nice and tight, nothing's leaking, and we got the reservoir filled up. So prayerfully, if we did our job right, we wouldn't have to bleed the wheel brakes. But if we have to bleed the brakes, we'll go ahead and bleed the brakes. But we'll see what happens here. Who was out fooling? We had low brake pressure before, so there was air in the line, so I had to bleed the wheels. You know how to do it. You start from the furthest wheel, the right passenger side, then the left driver's side, then the front passenger side, and then the left passenger side. And you have someone just push the brake down. You unloosen the brake bleed, let it bleed out, tighten it, let them pump it up, bleed again until it's all clear. And now we got full brake pedal. Full brake pedal. So it was definitely the brake. It was definitely the brake master cylinder that was bad. So we got good brakes. So this job is complete. I'm just going to take it for a quick little run, and that's it. Okay, so how I made that bench bleeder kit was I ran out to Harbor Freight, and I bought a brake bleeder vacuum pump kit. Okay, comes with different fittings inside the tube here, and here's the clear tubing right here. And like I said, I went to salvage yard and I got these brake lines off the brake master cylinder. I loosened them up with a line wrench, 12 millimeter, and I had it cut long. I broke them off long, and I brought them to the house and cut them off. And this kit from the brake bleeder vacuum pump kit fits it perfect. And so these are going to be for Honda CR-V lines, so I'll keep that in mind. But I didn't have to cut any of these hoses. The length was fine. You saw as I bench bled it did fine. And the car's back my neighbor's yard. He loves it, just like it rolled off the lot. Brakes are working fine. So so now I have a brake bleeder vacuum pump kit that I can use. And inside the kit, you got various bleeder hoses. There's some hoses right there for the bleeder valve, and then there's some T clamps and some other fittings that you can screw different things into the bleeder valve to bleed it with. So that kit comes in there. I don't know if I'll ever use this kit. Maybe I might. Maybe I might not. I don't know. But one thing's for sure. This kit here belongs to my, like I said, my vacuum pump that I have here for testing the radiator. So what I might do is just use this as a vacuum pump for the check the radiator pressure, because that I can squeeze. The handle on this is broken, and so I have to use grip pliers. See, the handle's broken on that, so I have to use grip pliers on that to get this to work. So I kind of knocked out two birds with one stone here. So that's the good part about that. So anyway, that's how I made up this bench bleeding kit, because I really didn't want to bleed it on the vehicle. You can bleed it on the vehicle two ways. You can crack the lines and let somebody pump the brakes and bleed the air out, but I don't want all that fluid running everywhere, so I'd rather bench bleed it here. And you can bench bleed it in the car. Like I said, you can put those lines on it, run the tubes into it, keep it filled, and then just have somebody pump the brakes until you see all the bubbles disappear. So you can bleed it in the car like you would on a bench and use the pedal to do it. But I obviously wanted to do it outside of the vehicle, so it was a lot easier because I did have a vice grip to do it with. But anyway, that's how you bench bleed master cylinders and get all the air out. And now the vehicle is working fine. So gives us a thumbs up, hit the like button, and subscribe. This is Rev It Up Mustang Fanatic Productions Mechanic Edition. God bless. So I emptied the reservoir as much as I could. You can see hardly anything in there. It may be some way in the back, but here it is in the spray bottle. And all I do is just take this spray bottle off, stick the spray bottle nozzle in the brake fluid, and I hold this jar open and I have this spraying into the jar. So that's a quick way to get the fluid out of there. That was a 10mm bolt. I took it off with a ratchet wrench. So now I'm going to get those 13mm. I'm going to loosen up these bolts here. I'm going to spray some WD-40 on them real quick. All right, let's catch you up to speed. Here is the sensor wire, and you just pull the tab in and pull it out. It was directly behind the master cylinder reservoir, but I took this bracket off. The bracket goes in here like that, and the master cylinder got a clip that clips into that, and I couldn't get it out with this in the way, so I just took the bracket off, and there's your two lines, and that's it. Now if you look back in the bore, you'll see the brake booster, and the brake booster, when you press the pedal, that comes out and press the back of that reservoir. So in there looks pretty dry. I don't see anything wrong with that. Looks pretty good inside there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just clean that up, and we're gonna start to swap the master cylinder reservoir over to the new master cylinder, and we're gonna bleed it on the bench, and then we can come back and put it. So this is the master cylinder right here, and these are the reservoirs. Okay, this is the main reservoir, and it goes down into the secondary reservoir. And what happens here, fluid goes to the rear and to the front brakes. So one of these seals internally has gone bad in here, allowing an internal fluid. When you push this bore in and it pushes the brakes in, brake fluid is getting past the seal and going back into the reservoir instead of going down to the brake lines and to the brake pads to squeeze them to make the vehicle stop having the spongy pedal. So I want to inspect this hose and take this off by this clamp here, and we're going to install it on the new pump. So let's break out the new pump here. I should clean my desk up a minute.